As soon as President Donald Trump signs the Small Business Innovation Research and Small Business Technology Transfer Program Reauthorization Act into law, the Department of Navy will be ready. While the House still needs to do its job and pass the SBIR bill, the Navy has been using the last 6 months to update its program. With a sneak peek into the Navy's plans for the future of its SBIR program, Federal News Network's executive editor Jason Miller joins me now. Jason, great to have you.
Thanks, Terry.
All right, let's start with the latest on the effort to reauthorize the SBIR program.
Well, we know that the Senate passed a compromise version of the Reauthorization Act last week, March 4th. The House was supposed to take the bill up Monday, but leadership canceled votes ahead of the big storm that we went through yesterday. Now, House Small Business Committee spokeswoman told me that she expects the bill to come back up for a vote this week, but wasn't really able to tell us exactly when. That's good news because the program has been suspended since September 30th, early October 1st, because the authorization ran out. There's been some big disagreements over what the future of the program would look like, but it looks like the Senate found its compromise. I think the House will follow suit and pass the bill. So what's in the new bill is that, first of all, the most important thing, the SBIR and STTR programs will be reauthorized through fiscal 2031. So a solid 5 years, we don't have to worry about and go through this rigmarole again. It would also require each agency to set a maximum number of proposals per fiscal year that any one small business could submit through Phase 1 or Phase 2 solicitations. Additionally, the bill would expand the training requirements for agency contracting officers and the acquisition workforce with respect to Phase 3 commercialization of these technology awards to help them understand how to commercialize Phase 3 better, more often. And then finally, it establishes what they call a strategic breakthrough allocation for specific critical technology areas. The idea here is for Phase 2, Phase 3 SBIR, STTR programs. So it's a way for small businesses to demonstrate, hey, this technology can be effective, and we can also receive some matching funds. So that's a broad summary of this bill that hopefully, Terry, fingers crossed, we'll get through one of the final 2 wickets this week.
So, Jason, assuming the bill does become law, what's the Navy got up its sleeve to update its SBIR program?
6 months is a long time to go, okay, what do we do with SBIR program? How do we make it better? So the Navy, to their credit, has used this time to really evaluate their previous efforts over the last few years. Now, Andrew Magliochetti is the new director of the small business programs at the Department of Navy. He says this analysis found that about 70% of the DON's SBIR, STTR actions were being executed within one place in the department, while 30% were really spread out across all other places.
We intend to sort of centralize the actual sort of contract execution part of it into a center for excellence that we believe strongly will sort of speed up the process for us. This is actually one of the areas where we're cooperating with RCO is sort of figuring out how we can more effectively kind of take the capability requirements that they are identifying, fold into our topics within SBIR, and kind of have a flywheel effect between those two programs.
Now, Magliochetti, speaking last week at AFCEA Nova's Navy IT Day, didn't want to get into too many more specifics about what those big changes to SBIR and STTR would look like, but he did offer some, if you will, high-level insights among those changes. For example, Magliochetti says the Navy's intent is to make things easier, scale faster, incorporate more private capital as partners to the department and to their small business partners.
We are sort of laser focused on acceleration of developing capabilities and adoption. So for us to be able to kind of more quickly move through the phases of the program to award larger amounts of capital and getting those capabilities to the field and to the fleet quicker, we're all in support of that.
In the coming weeks, hopefully, Terry, we're very close to when the SBIR, STTR Reauthorization Act becomes law. Magliochetti says Navy will have more details to share about what these changes will look like. And I think he expects the program people to be part of it, to be very excited.
Well, Jason, you talked about up front the pause in the program since last September, October. So they haven't been able to make new awards under the SBIR program. What has the Navy been doing to help push small firms in the innovation space?
Phase 1 and Phase 2 awards were on hold. Phase 3 awards could move forward. Anything that was kind of left over from last year, previous years, that could also move forward. But at the same time, the Navy says, okay, well, we have this program called Launch. This is specifically looked at Phase 2 awardees to help them explore, define, implement a commercialization strategy. One of the big focus areas for the new reauthorization bill for SBIR, STTR. So Launch provides 3 sets of different trainings. One's around commercialization techniques like customer discovery, private investor funding models. There's another one around accelerating commercialization by working with advisors to develop strategies to bring their technologies to market. And a third is what they call exploration. These are really tactical topics for like sales strategy and fundraising preparation. And in fact, Terry, the Navy's holding a series of information sessions, including one today at 1:30 p.m. Eastern, to help SBIR recipients understand how to apply, for instance, today is the lean startup principles, customer discovery techniques to validate their market needs, gather real-world feedback, and build their solutions that, as they say, resonate with commercial customers. Now, they'll have other sessions, too, in case if you missed today's. March 24th, there's one on how to get dual-use company funded. March 31st, there's one focused on intellectual property. And then later this year, Navy also will hold a private capital equity events, where with the next one coming up in D.C. in April. And Terry, we will link to all of those events, make it easy for people to find on federalnewsnetwork.com. Now, I want to just give people a sense of how much money the Navy spends on SBIR, STTR. This is back from fiscal 2024. That's the latest data the Navy has. And this is just for Phase 3 obligations. They did over $1.5 billion just for Phase 3 obligations to over 150 programs and PEOs across the Navy. So a ton of money goes through this program. Phase 2, Phase 1 awards also has several tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of dollars.
Well, those upcoming training programs sound pretty interesting. Are there other things that the Navy's working on?
Of course, never ends. Small businesses are always a big talking area for a lot of the agencies across the board. Navy's no different. So one big change that the Navy is really kind of getting teed up is this change to this idea of portfolio acquisition executive, a new PAE structure. This is going to replace broadly the PEO, or Program Executive Office structure, that the Navy's been using for many, many years. Maglio Chetty, again, the Director of Small Business Programs at the Navy, says part of the PAE restructuring, his office is also going to restructure to match the Navy's new PAE approach.
We will be following along with each PAE, but we are also recasting how the reporting structure works. So rather than sort of policy recommendations and in turn sort of reporting to happen within each buying activity, those folks will be reporting directly to our office while co-located with each PAE, and we think we'll have, number one, a massive gain in efficiency, but also sort of more efficient execution against what the priorities are that we have as a department.
Now, Maglio Chetty also says they'll have a small business officer, a senior person, and as well as supporting small business professionals within each PAE. But he says these employees will be co-located with the PAE folks, but will continue to and work with them day to day. But at the same time, these small business experts will continue to report directly to his office, the small business office. So what it sounds to me like they're doing, Terry, without seeing the exact memo and the exact setup, is that they'll really put these small business officers within the PAEs, but still have very important kind of tag back, direct line reporting back to ensure that they hit their goals, meet their small business goals, their women-owned business goals, hub zone, and the like socioeconomic goals across the board.
Well, there will be a lot of folks who are excited about the SBIR program watching this one for execution.
Absolutely, Terry. And, this has been something that's given a lot of heartburn to a lot of people across the small business community. So close to the finish line. And as soon as I get it across, I think the Navy will be one of the ones out there ready to go.
That's Federal News Network's executive editor, Jason Miller. Jason, thanks for joining me.
Always a pleasure, Terry.
You can find his story at federalnewsnetwork.com.